What if I told you that the key to true happiness isn't found in the approval of others, nor is it chained to the unpredictable actions of those around you? Imagine shedding the pain and frustration born from unmet expectations, stepping into a freedom so profound that it can only come from walking your path alone. Not in loneliness, but in powerful autonomy. This is the heart of Stoicism, the radical idea that freedom begins within, when you stop depending on the external world for your emotional peace. In this video, we dive deep into the transformative journey of reclaiming your inner fortress, a place where no one else holds the keys to your joy or freedom. You'll discover not just a philosophy, but a practical blueprint for emotional mastery. From mastering your own emotional autonomy, crafting sacred morning rituals that set your day on fire with purpose, to silently training the art of detachment from what inevitably changes or fades. You'll learn why focusing fiercely on what you can control shields you from unnecessary suffering, and how solitude, far from being a punishment, becomes your greatest ally in clarifying your identity and purpose. We'll unwrap how tiny daily actions, when done consistently, build unstoppable momentum, why setting firm boundaries is essential to guard your energy, and how dropping the clutch on the need for validation sets you free to fully accept yourself. You'll see how training your mind toward neutral, clear thinking is the secret to avoiding needless pain, and why cultivating both physical and mental strength is the foundation of real resilience. Finally, you'll learn to transform every rejection or setback into a powerful redirection, a stepping stone for growth, rather than a crushing defeat. This isn't about escaping the world, but about stepping fully into your own power, with clarity, autonomy, and inner strength. Walking alone isn't solitude. It's an act of courage, a ritu. Prepare to challenge everything you thought about happiness, and discover how to make it depend on no one but you. 11 Stoic strategies to cultivate inner freedom and true happiness. 1. Master emotional autonomy. 2. Create powerful morning rituals. 3. Practice silent detachment. 4. Focus only on what you control. 5. Cultivate productive solitude. 6. Commit to daily microactions. 7. Set and maintain firm boundaries. 8. Reduce the need for external approval. 9. Train the mind for neutral thinking. 10. Build physical and mental strength. 11. Turn rejections into redirection. If this is making sense to you so far, if you're feeling that quiet shift within, please take a moment to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear this message of inner strength and self-reliance. We've talked about the profound power that comes from mastering your emotional landscape, from setting intentional routines that anchor your day, from understanding the subtle art of detachment, and from fixing your gaze solely on what you can genuinely control. We've explored how solitude, when approached with purpose, isn't a void, but a fertile ground for self-discovery. Now, let's continue this journey, peeling back more layers of what it truly means to build an unshakable inner fortress, to cultivate a freedom that depends on no one but you. 6. Commit to daily microactions, the idea of reclaiming your inner fortress, of achieving profound emotional mastery, might sound like a monumental task, a summit visible only from a great D, and, in a way, it is. But every mountain is scaled not by a single leap, but by countless small, deliberate steps. This is the essence of committing to daily micro-actions. The sixth strategy in our quest for inner freedom. In the bustling chaos of modern life, we are often conditioned to seek immediate dramatic results. We want grand transformations overnight, a sudden lightning bolt of enlightenment that changes everything. But true, lasting change, the kind that reconfigures your internal landscape, rarely happens in a flash. It's forged in the quiet, consistent crucible of small, daily efforts. The Stoics understood this intuitively. They didn't preach about sudden epiphanies, but about continuous practice, about the daily discipline of the mind. Seneca, for instance, didn't just write his letters on virtue and tranquility. He lived them, constantly reflecting, constantly adjusting, constantly striving. He knew that the path to wisdom was not a destination, but a journey of persistent self-improvement. Think about it. Building a habit isn't about one heroic effort, but about showing up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Want to cultivate more gratitude? Don't wait for a life-altering event. Spend just 2 minutes each morning thinking of 3 things you're grateful for. Want to develop more emotional resilience? Don't expect to suddenly become impervious to pain. Instead, each time a minor frustration arises, a spilled coffee, a missed call, pause for a moment before reacting. Observe your initial impulse, then consciously choose a more measured response. That tiny pause, that deliberate choice, is a micro-action. These micro-actions are the spiritual push-ups of your character. They seem insignificant in isolation, but when compounded over days, weeks, months, and years, they build an unstoppable momentum. They're like tiny rivers carving canyons through stone, not by brute force, but by relentless persistence. Consider your attention, for example. In our hyper-stimulated world, our attention is constantly fragmented, pulled in 1,000 directions by notifications, endless feeds, and the incessant demands of others. A micro-action here could be simply deciding, for the next hour, that you will only focus on one task. No checking emails, no scrolling, just one thing. Or when you're having a conversation, practice truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but absorbing every word, every nuance. This isn't about grand gestures. It's about micro moments of mindful presence that over time rewire your brain for greater focus and deeper connection. The beauty of micro actions lies in their accessibility. They don't require immense willpower, a huge chunk of time, or a dramatic life overhaul. They require a willingness to begin, however small, and a commitment to consistency. Can you spare 5 minutes each day to reflect on your core values? Can you spend 30 seconds consciously taking a deep breath when you feel stress rising? Can you dedicate 1 minute to writing down a single lesson you learned from a challenge? Each of these seemingly minor acts is a powerful declaration of intent. It tells your subconscious and the universe that you are serious about your growth. It's a tiny brick laid perfectly, day after day, in the foundation of your inner fortress. And eventually, you look back and realize you've built something magnificent, not through one heroic feat, but through the unwavering discipline of showing up for yourself, one small action at a time. This steady rhythm builds not just habits, but an identity. The identity of someone who is in command of their own progress. Someone who understands that true power lies in the quiet, unwavering commitment to the daily practice of becoming. Set and maintain firm boundaries. In our interconnected world, where lines between work and personal life blur, and the demands of others constantly vie for our attention, energy, and time, the concept of boundaries has never been more vital. This 7th strategy, setting and maintaining firm boundaries, is not merely about saying no. It is a profound act of self-preservation, a deliberate choice to protect your inner sanctuary, and a core tenet of Stoic autonomy. Imagine your inner fortress, that sacred space where your peace resides, where your values are clear, and your purpose is cultivated. Without clear boundaries, this fortress is vulnerable. Its gates are left open, allowing any external demand, any emotional manipulation, any unsolicited opinion to waltz in and disturb your tranquility. The Stoics understood that true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want, but about being undisturbed by what is not yours to control. And central to this is defining what is not yours, which fundamentally means establishing robust boundaries. Boundaries are the invisible fences that protect your mental, emotional, and physical space. They are the limits you set to define what you will and will not accept in your interactions with others and even with yourself. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect. It's an acknowledgement that your time, your energy, your emotional well-being are finite and precious resources, and you are the steward of those resources. In modern life, the pressure to be constantly available, to always say yes, to avoid conflict at all costs, is immense. We fear being seen as difficult, uncooperative, or uncaring. But what is the cost of constantly bending to others' wills? It's the erosion of your own identity, the depletion of your energy, and the slow surrender of your inner peace. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you chip away at your autonomy. Every time you allow someone to cross a line that violates your values, you invite chaos into your inner world. The Stoic principle of focusing on what you control is directly applicable here. You cannot control what others demand of you, but you absolutely control your response to those demands. You control your time, your attention, and your emotional availability. Setting boundaries is the practical application of this control. It's saying, I choose how I allocate my most valuable resources. So, how do you set firm boundaries without becoming an island? It begins with self-awareness. What are your non-negotiables? What activities drain your energy? What types of interactions leave you feeling resentful? Once you understand these, you can articulate them. This might mean time boundaries. I check emails until 6 p.m., and then my evenings are for my family and personal reflection. I need uninterrupted time in the morning for my rituals. Emotional boundaries. I cannot engage in gossip or prolong negativity. Digital boundaries. I put my phone away during meals. I mute notifications when I'm focused on a task. Setting boundaries isn't about being aggressive. It's about being clear and consistent. It requires courage, especially when you anticipate pushback from those accustomed to your previous lack of boundaries. But remember, the discomfort of setting a boundary is often far less than the long-term suffering of not having one. The Stoics often spoke of self-mastery and living in accordance with nature. Part of living in accordance with nature is understanding your own limitations and capacities and respecting them. When you set boundaries, you are honoring your own nature, protecting your peace, and demonstrating a profound form of self-care. You are not rejecting others. You are protecting yourself from burnout and resentment, allowing you to engage more authentically and effectively when you choose to engage. Ultimately, boundaries are not walls to keep people out of your life entirely, but rather fences that define the landscape of your engagement. They create a clear distinction between what is yours to manage and what belongs to others. By maintaining these firm yet compassionate lines, you preserve your inner freedom, ensuring that your emotional peace remains an internal affair, dependent only on your choices, not on the chaotic external world. This clarity allows you to choose your interactions, to give more authentically, and to maintain an unshakable serenity within your well-guarded inner fortress. 8. Reduce the need for external approval. If there's one chains that truly binds us in the modern world, it's the relentless, often subconscious, craving for external approval. This eighth strategy is perhaps one of the most liberating: to drastically reduce your dependence on what others think of you. It is a radical act of self-ownership, a profound declaration that your worth, your choices, and your happiness are not up for public referendum. Think about how much of our lives are subtly, or not so subtly, influenced by the imagined or actual gaze of others. We choose careers not because they align with our deepest passions, but because they garner prestige. We buy clothes, cars, or houses, not purely for their utility or beauty, but for the status they confer. We filter our opinions, temper our ambitions, and even suppress our true selves, all in the desperate hope of being liked, accepted, or admired. This pursuit of approval is an endless treadmill, a psychological hamster wheel that drains our energy and steals our peace. The Stoics recognized this deeply. They understood that placing your emotional well-being in the hands of others' opinions is a recipe for perpetual anxiety and disappointment. Epictetus, a former slave who later became a revered Stoic teacher, constantly reminded his students, "What chiefly disturbs men's minds is not events, but their judgments on events. And crucial among these judgments are the judgments of others about us." When we allow their opinions to dictate our self-worth, we hand over the keys to our inner fortress, inviting instability and unhappiness. Consider the fleeting nature of approval. It is as capricious as the weather. Today's praise can turn into tomorrow's criticism. The crowd that cheers you on one day can turn on you the next. Basing your sense of self on such an unstable foundation is like building a house on sand. True stability, true peace, comes from an internal locus of control, from a self-acceptance that is immutable, regardless of the external tides of opinion. So, how do you begin to sever this chain? Firstly, recognize the trap. Become acutely aware of moments when you find yourself altering your behavior, filtering your words, or making choices primarily to please someone else or to avoid their disapproval. Is that outfit truly for you, or for the impression it creates? Is that career path truly fulfilling, or is it merely respectable? Is that argument you're avoiding worth the cost of your authentic expression? Secondly, internalize your values. Instead of looking outwards for validation, look inwards. What are your core values? What does integrity mean to you? What kind of person do you want to be, independent of any external praise or blame? Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, constantly reminded himself to act according to reason and virtue, not for the applause of the fickle crowd. When your actions are aligned with your deeply held values, the opinions of others become secondary, almost irrelevant. You find satisfaction not in their applause, but in your own congruence. Thirdly, practice indifference to externals. This doesn't mean becoming uncaring or arrogant. It means developing a healthy detachment from outcomes that are not within your control, including what others think. Their thoughts are theirs. Your actions, your intentions, your character, These are yours. When you perform an act of kindness, do it because it's virtuous, not because you expect praise. When you express an honest opinion, do so because it's true to you, not because you seek agreement. Fourthly, embrace vulnerability and authenticity. The irony of seeking approval is that it often makes us less likable, because we come across as inauthentic or overly eager to please. When you shed the need for approval, you free yourself to be truly unapologetically you. This authenticity, paradoxically, is what often draws genuine connection and respect. It shows courage, and courage is universally admired, even by those who disagree with you. Think of it this way: your self-worth is not a public market where everyone gets to bid. It is a private vault, and you hold the only key. When you stop depending on others to tell you who you are, when you anchor your value in your own character and your own actions, you unlock a profound sense of inner freedom. You become less reactive to criticism, less inflated by praise, and simply more steady, more centered, more you. This journey requires conscious effort. It means choosing your own integrity over popularity, your own peace over pleasing. But with each small step away from external validation, you take a monumental leap towards self-possession, towards a happiness that is truly your own, a freedom that is unshakable because it resides entirely within your own well-fortified soul. You stop asking, "What do they think of me?" and start asking, "Am I acting in alignment with my best self?" And in that shift, everything changes. 9. Train the mind for neutral thinking. One of the most profound and transformative insights of Stoicism is the understanding that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our interpretations of them. This ninth strategy, training the mind for neutral thinking, is about reclaiming control over your internal narrative, discerning facts from judgments, and thereby shielding yourself from a vast amount of unnecessary suffering. We are, by nature, storytellers. Our minds are constantly weaving narratives around everything that happens to us. A coworker doesn't reply to an email. They're ignoring me. They don't respect my work. A plan falls through. This always happens to me. I'm cursed with bad luck. A stranger looks at us oddly. They must think something is wrong with me. These interpretations, these rapid-fire judgments, are often automatic, deeply ingrained, and almost always negative. And it is these interpretations, not the neutral event itself, that trigger our anger, anxiety, frustration, or sadness. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent. They taught that we have the power to withhold our agreement, our assent, from these initial, often negative impressions. We don't have to automatically accept the stories our minds create. Instead, we can pause, examine, and choose a more objective, neutral perspective. Consider the classic example: rain. To a farmer in a drought, rain is a blessing. To a child hoping for a sunny picnic, it's a disaster. To a meteorologist, it's just a weather phenomenon, H2O falling from the sky. The rain itself is neutral. Our judgment of it imbues it with meaning, positive or negative. The same applies to almost every event in our lives. A job loss is, factually, the termination of employment. It can be interpreted as a catastrophic failure or as an opportunity for a new beginning. The event is neutral. The interpretation is a choice. Training your mind for neutral thinking isn't about denying reality or suppressing emotions. It's about creating a space between the event and your reaction. It's about stepping back, observing the event dispassionately, and asking yourself, what are the bare facts here? What is simply happening, without my added layers of judgment, fear, or desire? Here's how to practice this. Catch the automatic judgment. Become aware of your internal monologue. When a challenging situation arises, notice the immediate thoughts and emotions that flood your mind.
This is terrible. I can't stand this. They're doing this to me. Separate fact from fiction.
Once you've caught the judgment, consciously separate it from the objective facts. A traffic jam is a long line of cars. The judgment is,
This is wasting my time. I'm going to be late. This is so frustrating.
the fact is simply the traffic. Reframe neutrally. Instead of immediately attaching a negative label, try to describe the situation in the most neutral, objective terms possible. There are many cars on the road today, causing slower movement. My coworker delivered their feedback directly. The meeting was rescheduled. Question your assumptions. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? What evidence do I have that this interpretation is absolutely true? Could this situation also be seen as an opportunity or a challenge rather than a misfortune? This practice is incredibly powerful because it gives you back agency. If your suffering comes from your interpretations, then by changing your interpretations, you change your suffering. You reclaim the power over your emotional state, pulling it back from the external world and placing it firmly within your control. When you train your mind to think neutrally, you become less susceptible to external provocations. Someone insults you. The insult is merely a sound, words spoken. Your interpretation that I am insulted or they are trying to hurt me is what causes the pain. By viewing it neutrally, this person is expressing their opinion, perhaps out of their own distress. You can remain undisturbed. You protect your inner fortress from the emotional ammunition of others. This doesn't mean becoming cold or emotionless. It means becoming emotionally intelligent and resilient. It means choosing your emotional responses deliberately, rather than being a slave to automatic reactions. It means understanding that while you cannot always choose what happens to you, you absolutely can choose how you interpret and respond to it. The continuous practice of neutral thinking, of separating objective reality from subjective judgment, is a cornerstone of Stoic emotional mastery. It's a shield against the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, and a profound pathway to inner peace and unshakable freedom, because it teaches you that your happiness is not tethered to the fickle nature of events, but to the steady wisdom of your own mind. Build physical and mental strength. When we speak of inner freedom and resilience, it's often easy to focus solely on the mind, on thoughts, emotions, and philosophical principles. But the Stoics, with their holistic understanding of human nature, knew that the mind and body are inextricably linked. This 10th strategy, building both physical and mental strength, recognizes that a truly fortified inner self requires a robust and disciplined outer self. Imagine your inner fortress. While its walls are built of wisdom and virtue, its foundation is often supported by the strength and health of your physical being. A weary, neglected body makes for a weary, agitated mind. Conversely, a body that is cared for, disciplined, and capable provides a powerful reservoir of energy and resilience for your intellectual and emotional endeavors. The Stoics were not ascetic, nor were they hedonists. They advocated for moderation and a disciplined approach to the body, seeing it as a tool for living virtuously, not an object of worship or indulgence. Seneca, despite his immense wealth, often practiced voluntary discomforts, eating simple food, wearing plain clothes, not to suffer, but to steel himself against future misfortunes, and to appreciate what he usually took for granted. He understood that a body accustomed to ease quickly becomes fragile, while one accustomed to a degree of hardship builds resilience. Physical strength is not about becoming a bodybuilder or an elite athlete, though these can certainly be outcomes. It's about cultivating a body that serves your purposes, that enables you to live a life of virtue and contribution, free from unnecessary ailments caused by neglect. This means consistent movement, engaging in regular physical activity, walking, running, lifting, yoga, not just for aesthetics, but for the clarity it brings to your mind, the energy it provides, and the discipline it instills. Each workout, each brisk walk, is a micro-action that reinforces your commitment to yourself. Mindful nutrition, fueling your body with wholesome, nourishing foods, avoiding excess, and treating eating as a deliberate act of self-care rather than a thoughtless indulgence. This discipline extends beyond the plate, teaching you self-control and moderation in all areas. Adequate rest, recognizing that sleep is not a luxury, but a fundamental pillar of physical and mental health. A well-rested mind is sharper, more resilient, and better equipped to handle life's challenges. Voluntary discomfort, occasionally choosing to do hard things physically, taking a cold shower, enduring a challenging workout, or fasting for a period. This isn't about punishment. It's about building mental toughness, reminding yourself that you are stronger than your immediate cravings or discomforts, and proving that you can thrive even when things aren't perfectly comfortable. This physical discipline translates directly into mental strength. When you consistently push your body, you are simultaneously training your mind. You learn to tolerate discomfort, to persevere through challenge, to delay gratification, and to quiet the internal voice that urges you to quit. This willpower, once honed in the physical arena, becomes a formidable asset in the mental one. Mental strength, in the Stoic sense, is the ability to maintain composure, clarity, and virtue in the face of adversity. It is the resilience to bounce back from setbacks, the courage to face your fears, and the self-control to govern your impulses. This isn't just about thinking positive thoughts. It's about active cultivation, confronting difficult truths, having the courage to look at reality as it is, without illusion or denial. This means acknowledging your own flaws, accepting what you cannot change, and facing unpleasant facts head-on. Practicing resilience, viewing challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to test and strengthen your character. Just as muscles grow stronger under resistance, so too does the mind. Controlling impulses, developing the self-mastery to choose your responses, rather than being driven by immediate desires or aversions. This links back to neutral thinking and emotional autonomy. Cultivating discipline, the consistent, often unglamorous effort required to pursue your values and goals, even when motivation wanes. This is the bedrock of both physical and mental prowess. Think of building physical and mental strength as fortifying the very structure of your inner fortress. The robust physical walls give you the energy and vitality to engage with the world. The disciplined mental framework ensures that your thoughts are clear, your emotions are managed, and your will is firm. They are two sides of the same coin, each enhancing the other. By embracing this strategy, you stop seeing your body as separate from your mind, and instead recognize them as an integrated system, a single instrument to be tuned and maintained for optimal performance in the grand symphony of life. You become more capable, more resilient, and ultimately more free, because you have created a powerful, integrated self that can weather any storm, inside or out. Turn rejections into redirection. Life, by its very nature, is a series of open doors and slammed doors. We face countless rejections: a job application denied, a relationship ended, an idea dismissed, a project failing. In the modern world, where success is often flaunted and failure hidden, rejections can feel like crushing defeats, personal indictments of our worth. But for the Stoic, rejections are not endpoints. They are merely redirections, powerful signals pointing us towards new, often better paths. This final strategy is about mastering the art of transformation, turning what feels like a defeat into a stepping stone for growth and freedom. The default human reaction to rejection is often pain, self-doubt, and resentment. We internalize it, believing it says something fundamental about our inadequacy. But the Stoics would remind us that many rejections are simply external events outside of our control. The company chose another candidate. The person chose a different path. The market wasn't ready for your idea. These are facts, not judgments about your inherent value. Epictetus famously taught that we should make the best use of what is in our power and take the rest as it naturally happens. Rejection often falls into the latter category. What is in our power, however, is our interpretation and our response. This is where redirection comes in. Imagine you are walking down a path, confident in your direction, only to find a gate locked, blocking your way. Your initial reaction might be frustration, but a Stoic would pause, accept the reality of the locked gate, and then look for an alternative route. Perhaps there's a detour that leads to an even more scenic vista, or a path that, while longer, builds greater resilience. The locked gate wasn't an end. It was a redirection. Here's how to apply this profound perspective in your life. Acknowledge, don't dwell. When rejection hits, it's natural to feel disappointment or sadness. Acknowledge these emotions, but don't allow them to fester or become a story of self-pity. Feel them, then let them pass. Dwelling on what could have been or should have been is an exercise in futility, keeping you stuck in the past. Seek the lesson. Every rejection contains valuable data. Why was the application denied? What could have been improved in your pitch? What did this relationship teach you about yourself or what you truly need? This isn't about blaming yourself, but about extracting wisdom. The Stoics saw every obstacle as an opportunity for practice and learning. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. As Marcus Aurelius put it, rejection isn't a wall, it's a recalibration. Reevaluate and adjust. A redirection forces you to pause and reevaluate your course. Was the rejected path truly the best path for you, or just the expected path? Perhaps the universe, or fate, or simply the circumstances, are gently or forcefully guiding you towards something more aligned with your true purpose or values. This is an invitation to greater self-awareness. Is this job rejection leading you to explore a passion you'd ignored? Is this relationship ending, clearing space for a more authentic connection? Cultivate proactive flexibility. The more we attach ourselves rigidly to a specific outcome, the more painful rejection becomes. By cultivating mental flexibility, by holding our plans loosely, we become more adaptable. If one door closes, we don't collapse against it in despair. We turn to survey the many other doors, or even consider building a new one. This proactive approach to flexibility is a hallmark of true inner freedom. The ability to adapt and thrive, regardless of external circumstances. Focus on what remains. Rejection might take away one opportunity, but it doesn't take away your skills, your character, your experience, or your capacity for growth. Focus on these enduring internal assets. These are the tools you carry with you, always available for the next redirection. Consider the entrepreneur who faces numerous rejections before finding success, the artist whose early works are dismissed, or the scientist whose experiments repeatedly fail. Each rejection, rather than being a final judgment, was a signpost, a piece of feedback that refined their approach, strengthened their resolve, or shifted their focus to a more fruitful area. They didn't see failure. They saw valuable information, leading to the next iteration. Turning rejections into redirections is a powerful act of emotional alchemy. It transforms potential pain into purpose, disappointment into discovery. It teaches you that your path isn't a single fixed line, but a dynamic, evolving journey with countless possibilities. By embracing this Stoic wisdom, you liberate yourself from the fear of failure, understanding that every no is an opportunity to refine your yes. You become resilient, not because you avoid setbacks, but because you master the art of navigating them, emerging stronger, wiser, and more authentically yourself with every twist and turn. This isn't about escaping the world, but about stepping fully into your own power with clarity, autonomy, and inner strength. Walking alone isn't solitude. It's an act of courage, a return to yourself, and the truest form of freedom. We have journeyed through these 11 strategies, not as a rigid set of rules, but as a blueprint for building an unshakable inner fortress. A sanctuary where your peace and happiness depend on no one but you. As Epictetus wisely taught, freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire itself. True happiness isn't found in accumulating external things or securing the approval of others, but in mastering your own mind, in recognizing what is truly yours to control, and living in powerful alignment with your deepest values. The path to inner freedom is not always easy. It demands courage, self-awareness, and relentless practice. But every step you take towards cultivating emotional autonomy, towards setting boundaries, reducing the need for external approval, training your mind for neutrality, building strength, and transforming rejections into redirections is a step towards a life of profound peace and genuine contentment. What single step will you commit to taking today to begin fortifying your own inner fortress and claiming the freedom that truly belongs to you alone? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this message resonated with you, please ensure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more insights into living a life of Stoic wisdom and powerful autonomy. Until next time, keep walking your own path undisturbed.